Raindrops, welcome back or welcome home. If you are new here, hi! My name is Desiree. It is so nice to meet you. If you are not new here, it's so good to see you again. Get really comfy, grab something to drink, some snacks, whatever. We're gonna be talking about the books that I read in September. So I would say that September was a pretty good month. If we're talking like personal life-wise, it was pretty busy, you know, going back to school. For me, I started my third year of university. Just a bunch of stuff, truly. I am still surprised that I was able to read, how many was it? 1, 2, 3, 4. 8 books. I have 7 here. The other one I left back home because I am back at my university apartment. So I read 8 books in September, and most of them were pretty good ratings. I do believe I have found 2 of my favorite books of all time this month, so it's gonna be interesting. So the first book that I read in September, I will put a picture of the cover here. I actually can't remember what it's called. I know that it was by Mariana Zapata, so at least there's that. Let me just... There we go. I just went on my Instagram because every time I finish a book, I post it on my story. I make these templates. I don't know if it's gonna focus. How rude. So I make these templates where I put, come on, focus. Anyways, I make these templates where I post the book that I finished and my rating for it on my story on Instagram. So if you don't follow me on there, that might be something that you want to do. Anyways, I forgot to look at the title. I think it's The Next Best Thing. Is that it? Sorry, The Best Thing by Mariana Zapata. I rated that book 5 stars. Usually, Mariana Zapata books, I tend to rate them infinity stars, but that one was just... I don't know what it was that made me not exactly like become obsessed with the characters and the book. I did really enjoy it. It's a enemies to lovers type of romance. It's a second chance romance. It's a single parent trope. But both parents of the kid get back together. And the story revolves around them and how the father finds out after like almost a year. Anyways, it's a sports romance, as most Mariana Zapata books are. But if I had to choose like one book by MZ for the rest of my life, that one would not be it. But I would still recommend it if you want something that is a bit lighter. It is a thick book. Like, I think every single one of her books are well over 400 pages or so. They're not exactly heavy. I mean, physically, yeah, they are heavy, but I mean, like, content-wise, I think the best thing is a little bit lighter. The banter is very good, though, and it is Grumpy Sunshine, but she's the Grump, and he's the Sunshine. I don't know. It was a very good one. Just not my cup of tea, but maybe not my cup of tea as I was reading it, because it wasn't like love at first sight. But I still rated it 5 stars. And then, what did I read afterwards? Let me just make sure, because I would like to go in order. That'd be fun. Okay, so the second book I read in September was actually sent to me by one of my book club members slash friend slash follower for my birthday. Thank you so much again, Miranda. I adored this book, okay? It is in my top 10 for the year. Now, those of you who are not familiar with Hazelwood, this is her second book. First book was about a year ago. It's The Love Hypothesis, but I would have a hard time believing that you did not know who Hazelwood is, because if you're on BookTube, chances are you've seen it on BookTube, or that you're also on Book Talk, and that book was absolutely everywhere. I'm talking too fast and I'm forgetting to breathe. Now let me just talk a little bit about my thoughts on The Love Hypothesis. I read it when it came out. It wasn't yet as popular on TikTok when I first read it. and I really did enjoy it. I gave it 5 stars if I'm not mistaken, but there was just a little thing that was missing for me to like fully connect with the story and the characters. But at that point, that's a very personal and specific thing, so that should not in any way affect your decision whether or not to read The Love Hypothesis. But if we're talking about love on the brain, I absolutely adored this. I love B with my entire heart. B is the main female character. And Levi, oh, please, oh my god. I don't even know where to start. There are a lot of people on Book Talk who have said things like, such a great book, but the galaxy leggings made me hate it. And then people who see that B wears galaxy leggings are gonna be like, nope, I'm not reading it. And I personally kind of have a hard time understanding that, because it's a piece of clothing that is on a fictional character that is written on pieces of paper. See, like, personally, I don't know if it's because I was part of the generation that wore galaxy leggings. Although I was kind of like at the end of it. Like, it wasn't a trend anymore when I was a teen. When I was a preteen, it was kind of still a thing. But I don't get how people can give so much hate on such an amazing book because of a piece of clothing. So if you share that opinion, that is your thing, okay? But personally, I thought it made her even better. I can see myself being friends with her. See, like, the kind of person she is, it's not because she wears galaxy leggings that she is, I don't know why people are so against her wearing those leggings. But for me, I really liked B. I could relate to her kind of personality in a sense, because I am rather similar to her when I'm around people that I've known for years. Like, if you meet me tomorrow, I'm not gonna be in any way, shape, or form similar to B. But if we've known each other and I've trusted you for years, you're gonna see the resemblance. And I couldn't get over the relationship between B and Levi. I will say that the slow burn in here definitely made me go nuts. And not just the slow burn, like the miscommunication and ignorance that they both had feelings for each other. That made me go insane, but in such a good way. And the way that Hazelwood includes a kind of message to, what's it called again? Yeah, she says in the author's note, this book is my hate letter to standardized testing. I'm in Canada, and I haven't had to go through any of that so far. I know there are some tests for certain things that you have to take, but either way, academia in general can be rather messed up. And so I just love how she combined such a great rom-com with such a real modern issue, and the way she addressed it, and the way that she tried, like, the way that B tried to deal with it. And I just thought it was absolutely amazing. I gave this like infinity. I got a tattoo in September, and it is a bee tattoo. I need to remember to breathe, oh my god. So this tattoo is primarily for Small Favors by Aaron A. Craig, and then it's also for Alone with You and the Other. I can never remember what it is, and I can never remember if it's Alone with You in the Either or Alone in the Either with You. I'll put the book here. Anyways, that's kind of like the second book, and then the third one, I decided, I read this before getting the tattoo, and I was like, I absolutely need a tattoo for this book, what should I get? And then I thought, you know what, I'll just have one tattoo with 3 book meanings. And so I loved it. I've also seen some people say that there was too much of B's inner monologue, but I think I liked it more because of it, because I felt like I was in someone's actual head. Does that make any sense? I felt like I was reading more of a diary than a fiction book, because it really is a lot of B's inner monologue. And Ellie actually wrote in first person for this book, while The Love Hypothesis was written in third person. And again, personally, I much prefer first person. I don't exactly know why, I just like it better. I do feel like the inner monologue was good. I personally enjoyed the book far more with the inner monologue. And I think that might have been what made the big difference for me between Love on the Brain and The Love Hypothesis. That being The Love Hypothesis being third person and Love on the Brain being first person. I don't exactly know. I just know that I adore this book, and I will recommend it to any and everyone who asks me about it. And if someone says, did you find this better than The Love Hypothesis? I will say yes. But as I always say, this is my personal opinion. I am not here to offend anyone. I am not here to judge your choices. We're talking about books here, right? So if I love a book, do not feel obligated to like it, and do not feel bad if you don't like it. See, if you dislike Love on the Brain, I'm not gonna be here judging you and saying you're a bad person for that. It just didn't fit your tastes. So, as I always say, go in with an open mind. Don't judge a book by its cover, and don't knock it till you try it, right? But that is... Did my review of this book make sense? I don't even know. I will probably be a bit all over the place in this video. I've had a very odd day. But anyways, this was Infinity Stars. I absolutely loved it. Then the next book that I read was actually my September book for the Tabby's Annotating Book Club, which is my book club, and it was Purple Hearts. So me and my tabbies, we decided that in September we were going to choose a book that had a movie adaptation made for it, and that at the end of the month we were going to watch the movie together. And we're actually watching the movie tomorrow, so that's super exciting. But I gave this 3.5 stars. So I actually think, I haven't seen the movie yet. I have seen previews of it. And I do think that the movie, in this case, is going to be far better than the book. Unfortunately, Cassie and Luke didn't have any chemistry until about page 200. Which was, it wasn't even slow burn. A slow burn, there is some chemistry, there's some tension. You can feel that something wants to happen, but both characters are, so set on not kissing each other or, being romantically involved with each other or whatever. That's slow burn. You can feel the tension making your head want to burst. Now with this, my head just wanted to burst because nothing was happening. I just, I had a bit of a hard time liking Cassie. I won't say anything because I genuinely don't want to spoil any aspect of it, but I didn't really like her all that much. I will say, the moments that she shared with Luke towards the last quarter of the book, that was sweet, right? There were some romantic moments in there, but I just feel like, again, no chemistry, no tension, no, they were meant to be friends after a point, but it didn't feel like they were. I don't know, something was just off. And then the last bit of the book was oh, okay, this is, this is relatively good. And that's what made me give it 3.5. But I would recommend it if you're trying to compare the movie. If you're looking for an amazing romance, this isn't it. This is just, yes, this is a marriage of convenience. If you're not familiar what Purple Hearts is about, sorry, I also haven't done this for the other two books, but they are a bit more popular. Purple Hearts is about Luke, who is enrolled in the military, and he is like in a very, very big debt with a drug dealer. Cassie is a singer-songwriter, and she's trying to get by so that she can quit her 9-to-5 job so she can become a full-time musician. But she gets diagnosed with diabetes, type 2 diabetes. She doesn't have the money to afford everything that is required when you are diabetic, and so she wants to go to her childhood best friend, who is also in the army, who is friends with Luke, and ask him to marry her, just so they can benefit from the money that you get. Because when you get married, you get health insurance and then like $2,000 or something like that. And so Luke overhears and he's like, I need money too. He doesn't tell her why though, which is a bit sketchy. But then they get into this, like they do the deal, they get married, and then Luke is deployed to Afghanistan, if I'm not mistaken. Is it Afghanistan? I think so. Anyways, he gets deployed, and then something happens and the story unrolls. But all this time that he spends in Afghanistan, they do have FaceTime calls and they email, and there is a bit of a relationship development during those, but again, it's very minimal. But I just, like, this was a very meh type of book for me. Would I recommend it? Again, like I said, if you're looking to compare the book with the movie, it might be interesting, but don't, like, again, I don't want to say don't expect the best love story ever, because it might be the best love story for some of you out there, and I don't want to say to completely knock it off, but go in with an open mind that interesting stuff will probably only happen about 200 pages in. Then the next book I read, this was actually for class. I am including it in my video because, I mean, I read the book, so I'm gonna count it even though it was just for class. I read A Small Place by Jamaica Kincaid. This is kind of like an essay-based non-fiction book. So it says, a small place magnifies our vision of one small place with Swiftian wit and precision. Jamaica Kincaid's expansive essay candidly appraises the 10 by 12 mile island in the British West Indies where she grew up, which is Antigua. And so we get a bit of a call out to colonizers and anyone who brought harm to Antiguan people, and we also get to see how Antigua once was and how it is now, as Jamaica compares the Antigua of her childhood to the Antigua of when she goes many, many years later. And it was a very, very quick read. I sat down and read this in less than an hour, I think. Approximately. I don't know, it was rather interesting. This is for my Caribbean literature class, and I found it pretty interesting. I actually gave it 5 stars. I am not one to read much non-fiction, but again, this was for class, so I had to read it, and it was so short, so it was kind of, oh yay, I can add this to, you know, my monthly wrap-up. It's another book that I can count towards my my yearly goal, but it was actually really, really good. I don't have much to say about it other than it's a very interesting read. It's got some great educational points in there, and I mean, it's nonfiction, so of course it is expected to learn something out of it, although some nonfiction books don't always teach you something, and that's a little bit concerning. But I do recommend this if you're interested in the history of the Caribbean, or if you're interested in Caribbean literature, or if you just want to try a nonfiction book that's short and you want to get more involved into the world of nonfiction lit. This could be pretty interesting for you. But yes, that is the 4th book that I read in September. And then the next book is actually another one that I read for class, although this time is for a different class. This is Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf, and I read this for my literature written by women after the 1900s. This was quite something. How many stars did I rate it? Right, I rated this 4 stars. And as you can expect of 19th century literature, and as you can expect of 20th century literature, it is like an older English. It took me a little bit longer than normal to finish this just because the English is a bit older, you need to focus a little bit more. And Woolf really just went bonkers with this one, with switching point of views every time that a new character came in. So the main character is obviously Mrs. Dalloway. She is married to Mr. Dalloway, and it's 1925, so she doesn't exactly work. She just stays home and throws extravagant parties. And so this happens, like the entire book is one day. And the big event is that Mrs. Dalloway is throwing a party on the evening of that day. And so we're following all the characters that are going to be attending, how they're getting ready. But we're also following another character, Septimus. I can't remember what his last name is. But Septimus just got out of the war and he's dealing with some pretty bad PTSD. And life is not going too well for him. So there is the talk of suicidal thoughts in here, just so you are aware. So in a sense it was a bit heavy, but at the same time it was not, because the plot was so simple, yet at the same time it held a lot of meaning. I don't know if I'm making any sense. I probably am not, but in a way I might be. I don't know. But the book starts off with Mrs. Dalloway. And then one of her childhood friends, who used to be incredibly in love with her, just arrives from India. And he's fallen in love with another girl. And so we switch to his point of view. And then we see another character and we switch to their point of view. And then another character and their point of view. And then someone just crosses a random person on the street and it changes to their point of view. And I found it really interesting for that switch of POV. It was a bit confusing, but that's why annotating is so helpful when it comes to actual like class readings or reading classics. Annotating can be so helpful because let's say you're associating a tab to every character switch, then you can easily like separate, okay, this is one character. You keep reading and then you can notice like, okay, yeah, the character a little bit earlier was different than the one that I thought. And you can go back and put a tab, write some stuff down, and it's super helpful if you're in class and want to discuss some things. You can talk about that. You can also put some tabs in points that you want to talk about in class. And anyways, the benefits of annotating are endless. But this is a rather interesting one if you want to dip your toes into the world of classics. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this one as a first classic book because it's a bit tricky, but it's not the trickiest to read. So do with that what you will. The next book that I read, and I was beyond excited for this one because it's from an author that I personally really, really love. I've read every single one of her books, and she hadn't published a book in about 2 years, maybe 3, I don't know. But this is Angelica Frankenstein Makes Her Match by Sally Thorne. This was not what I'd expected. Sally did the unexpected. Truly, she took like the typical Frankenstein story and turned it around into a rom-com. So, Angelica has been trying to find love for years. Hasn't been working because she and her brother, Victor, are... obviously they're odd, right? Because they bring the dead back to life. So, not everybody knows, but they do know that they're pretty weird. And so, Angelica also has very, very high expectations and specific needs to be met. And so, whenever she meets a man, she just asks those questions right away, and they either run off or God knows what. But they're doing an experiment, and Angelica chooses her man, and they rebuild him because, you know, they use different limbs because this is to help Victor become better than one of his opponents. But she ends up immediately falling in love with a man who they do not know what his real name is, but they end up calling him Will. And so Will Will wakes up and does not remember anything of his past life, but Angelica is already completely in love with him. She's like, I'm gonna marry this man. But then there are some hints that he may have been married, and so they kind of, most of the book is focused around getting Will to remember his past and see if he was married or if he can, you know, look further into his growing emotions and feelings for Angelica. And I gave this 4.5 stars because it wasn't exactly like spectacular, but it was also a very, very good book to read, and the plot was very interesting. I love how Sally just took a classic story and made it into just a modern rom-com. Like, this is set in the 1800s, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it is in the 1800s, and it is written like in like the type of English that you would normally read in like historical romance. But like, how could I say this? It's a mix of The Hating Game, Bridgerton, and Frankenstein. It's just, it was so good. It was truly so good. There could have been like a few things, like it was a bit lengthy, I will say. There is like the plot twist when we come to find out Will's true identity. That was like slightly predictable, but only after a certain point in the book was it predictable, and not long after it was revealed that like, oh yeah, this is who he is. So if you're looking for like, this is perfect for fall. This is why I got it. Also because I just love Sally and I really wanted to read her book. Whatever this woman comes out with, I will give it a chance. So I would definitely recommend it for if you're looking for a good fall book. It's not exactly scary, but it does give off like that dark academia vibe, but it's a great rom-com as well. And then the next one that I read, this is a manga though. It is the volume 5 of Lovesick Ellie, which came out like the end of August, I think. This is so good. I cannot tell you how good Lovesick Ellie is. I am positively obsessed with this series. It's so good. Oh my god, I can't. It is so, so good. I swear. The relationship between these two is so good. Oh, they're so adorable. So in this book, we kind of have, like, if you've read any romance in manga before, you will know that the first few volumes are spent with them kind of getting to know each other, and then they finally just like suddenly start dating. And then we start to see that there's some competition coming in, and it's in this book that the competition starts really coming in. So Ellie is in love and is now officially dating Omi. And Omi has a little cousin who also happens to be in love with him, I think. Like, not romantically in love, but she loves him very, very... Oh no, she does. Yeah, she does. Yeah, she's in love with him. Like, romantically in love with him. I thought for a second that it was just like they're very, very close and like best friends and she doesn't want to lose him to her, but I remembered towards the end we see that she is in love with him, which is a bit, you know, they are cousins, but anyways, so we see that she comes in the picture and becomes competition for Ellie. And then there is also another boy that comes in who is a bit more dark and mysterious, and he becomes friends with Ellie, but we obviously know he's going to become competition for Omi. So I cannot wait for the next volume to come out. I think it's coming out in October. I know that they've already, like, this series has been out online for years, but it's only recently been made into print. But I'm so excited for the next one to come out. This was so good. I think I rated it either infinity or 5 stars. Please start it. I strongly recommend it. And then the last book that I read, I loved it so much. I cannot tell you guys how much. This was spectacular. I actually cried when I finished this. I might actually cry now. This is When Gracie Met the Grump by Mariana Zapata. It is her most recent book It came out about a week ago. The second she announced that it was available in print on Amazon, I immediately bought it. Bought it the second I saw it on Instagram, ran to Amazon and I ordered it. And then I started reading it, and I finished it actually 2 nights ago. It is so good. It's so good. And it's not what she usually writes. Usually she writes sports romances. But this time it's a supernatural slash hero romance. I can't with this book. It was so good. So, Gracie, due to the decisions and actions of her parents, which she has not seen since she was 5, and now she's almost 30, and she's been brought up by her grandparents. So her parents made a very bad decision. And so she's been hiding most of her life so she wouldn't have to suffer the consequences of her parents' actions and decisions, until all of a sudden one of the 3 main superheroes, which are called the Trinity, one of them, the Defender, just drops in her front yard. And he's like injured very badly. And so she goes to get him, and she takes care of him for a couple weeks, I think, or maybe a couple days. I can't remember how long. But turns out he's a huge douchebag. He is a grump, and like he doesn't even say thank you or please or whatever whenever she brings him food or takes care of him. And so she's kind of like her dreams have been crushed, right? Because the Defender is supposed to be this amazing superhero, and you know, he saves humankind. He's supposed to be nice. But no, he's a huge grump. And then something happens and he has to take care of her. And then eventually we just get that to a point where she has to live with him and she meets his family. And oh, they have such a nice friendship. I swear. It's the reason why I love Mariana Zapata books so much is because, and also because, I guess, because why I love slow burn so much, is because it gives us an actual base for the relationship. Like, in every single one of Mariana's books, the main characters meet, and they don't start dating, like, only a month or 2 in. No. First they meet, and then either they meet, like, in the book, or they've known each other for years, and then they're brought together by some kind of inconvenient reason, and they become friends. And that's what I love so much. It's because her books have all of the best tropes together. It's like strangers to enemies to frenemies to friends to lovers. It's so good because there's an actual base for the relationship. Don't get me wrong, I love a book where like unrealistic stuff happens, like where I'm not a huge fan of insta-love, although depending on the author and on what the plot is, I will like it, but I usually prefer when there's an actual build-up to the 2 characters coming together. And with this book, like, these 2 have gone through so much together. Oh, and the action in there was so good. And the plot twists and the reveals and the family and it's perfection. It's truly, that's all it is. It's perfection. You have to read it. I rated this infinity stars. And I don't know what I would get. I will get a tattoo for this. You know me? When I have a book that I absolutely love, it means it's time for another tattoo. And I don't know if I want to get a quote written. And if I do get a quote, I would send a DM to Mariana and be like, would you mind writing this down for me so I can get it tattooed in your handwriting? Because I would love that. I would love that very much. Or maybe I would get a chocolate chip cookie tattooed. Because do you know? Oh my god. His real name is Alexander, okay? Do you know what Alex calls Gracie? Oh, it's so freaking cute. He either calls her Cookie Monster or he calls her Cookie. Like, it's a food! Wow, how is it this cute? But it's so adorable. So either I get a chocolate chip cookie tattooed or some type of superhero thing, or a quote written in Mariana Zapata's handwriting. But that is to be determined. The ending of this book, if you have read The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, also by Mariana Zapata, if you've read it, you'll know that the ending in The Wall of Winnipeg and Me is such a good one. It's such a happy one. The entire book itself is amazing because there's no like 75% breakup, right? Most romance books, when you hit the 75% mark, there's gonna be a breakup and then they get back together and it's the happy ending. But not in this one. No. There's everything. There's tension, there's a relationship, there's communication, actual communication. And then at the same time, there's not communication to the point that like they obviously know that the other is in love with them, right? But can you tell I love this? I love it so much! Oh my god, I can't. Please read it. Please read it. And when you read it, tag me on Instagram, on your stories, whatever. I want to see your reactions so very badly because this was so good. I would sell my soul to anyone if I could read this for the first time again. It was absolutely amazing. And I do believe that it might be my new favorite book of all time. So if someone asks me what's your favorite book, I do believe I will be saying this from now on. Small Favors is still in a very, very high rank, but currently it's this one. That was the very last book. While I'm here, I'm gonna do a little bit of selfish self-promo because I just thought that this looks so cute together. These are my current freebies for the month of October. If you didn't know, first off, I have a website where I mostly now sell bookmarks and annotating kits and annotating supplies. I also host auctions for annotated books, which are annotated by me. And my current October freebie designs are these two and then a third one with skeletons on it. And you get one of these. You don't choose the design, but you get a random one with every single order you place. So just a little fun fact for you. But I have tutoring with a student in about 45 minutes and I've got some prep to do. So I'm gonna get going. I do hope you really enjoyed all of my little bookish blubbering today, and I also hope that my reviews made sense. I hope you got some book recs. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these, if they've been on your radar, whatever. Alright, I will get going because that is it. That is all, and I will see you guys in the next one.